Hi, this is Robert Garcia, two-time Trainer of the Year, and you are listening to Ringside Boxing Show.
Live from Monterey on California's beautiful Central Coast, this is the Ringside Boxing Show. I'm Dennis Taylor, welcoming you to join me and my expert analysts, Travis Hartman, Rizwan Zahid, and John J. Raspanti, today and every week for the hottest, sweatiest show on the West Coast. And now, from Studio 1A, it's the Ringside Boxing Show. Hey, welcome to the Ringside Boxing Show on the grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm Dennis Taylor, and in just a short time from now, John Raspanti and I will be catching up with Keith one-time Thurman, who has the biggest fight of his career probably coming up July 20th at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, where he's going to be fighting Manny Pacquiao, first ballot Hall of Famer at the MGM Grand. We will be talking to Keith about how his training's going and how it feels to be facing a future first ballot Hall of Famer, among other things. Before that, we were hoping to hear from our British correspondent, Paul McLaughlin, and he did send us a report today, but I'm having some trouble with our software. I can't upload it. So, Paul, sorry about that. I can't get it up today. And we will kick it off as always.
Don't broadcast that, Dennis.
Hey, man, it's common knowledge at my age. We start off, as always, with our expert analyst. Travis Hartman is a professional boxer, trainer, and promoter from Osborne, Missouri. He'll be promoting a fight and fighting in his own boxing show this coming Friday at St. Joseph's, Missouri. Rizwan Zahid is a boxing journalist from Toronto, and the aforementioned John J. Raspanti, who you just heard, is chief lead writer for MaxBoxing.com and DogHouseBoxing.com. And John and I are co-authors of Intimate Warfare, the true story of the Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward boxing trilogy, an Amazon bestseller. And it looks like it's just going to be John and me today. Travis is running crazy trying to get his – it's tough being a promoter of a boxing show, let alone when you're fighting in it too, and that's what Travis is doing in St. Joe, Missouri. They got a minor league baseball stadium where, John, he threw out the first pitch. Did you see that? At a minor league baseball game this week.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing well.
How much have you and I dreamed of doing something like that, throwing out the first pitch?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's good for Travis. He deserves it.
He does. So, big star there, Travis Hartman. Okay, well, John, man, this was one of the dullest weeks we've had in boxing for such a long time. I went all the way through the old stories and just couldn't find anything real interesting to talk about. The hottest headlines of the week were bare-knuckle fighting. Paulie Malignaggi spat on an MMA guy with a losing record and then fought him in a bare-knuckle fight Saturday night and got whipped. So anyway, so what I decided to do was goof around a little bit. I picked out a handful of all-time great fighters, and I'm going to give you some hints about these mystery men. Maybe up to about 10 per fighter until you figure out who it is. We're going to see how long it takes you to guess who the mystery man was, and this should be fun or embarrassing. We'll see. But
yes. Thanks, Dennis.
Yeah, and then we'll forward John ahead to our interview with Keith Thurman. Okay, here's the first guy, John. All right, and you can jot down some of these notes if you want as you're going. I don't know if you got a pen handy or what, but this first guy fought from 1984 to 2001. He was an Olympic gold medalist. He won world championships at lightweight, where he was undisputed, light welterweight, and middleweight. He was Fighter of the Year in 1980.
Is that Oscar?
Nope.
Okay.
He was Fighter of the Year in 1989, according to Ring Magazine and the Boxing Writers. That's the year he beat Greg Haugen after he avenged a controversial loss to Jose Luis Ramirez, which was the first loss of his career. This guy is a southpaw. He's from Norfolk, Virginia. He's considered one of the greatest. There you go, baby. Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. You got it. Yeah, my next hint was going to be he's considered one of the greatest defensive fighters of all time. And
Yeah, 93 he fought a majority draw against Julio Cesar Chavez, and the headline on the cover of Sports Illustrated a few days later was giant letters, robbed. So, yeah, he got screwed in that fight against Chavez for sure. So, okay, John, all right, here's number 2. This guy retired with a record of 43-1 and 33 knockouts. He was born and raised in the Brownsville section of Brooklyn. Got it yet? He won a silver medal in the 1988 Olympics.
43-1, huh?
43-1. Yep, he was a silver medalist in the 88 Olympics. He was a 2-time world champion and an undisputed world champion, but he never fought the all-time great who beat him in the Olympics.
I'm drawing a blank. I mean, I think I know who it is, but it's not coming to me.
Brownsville section of Brooklyn. Okay.
Yeah.
One of his best-known fights was delayed by a famous incident.
Yeah.
He enlisted in the Marine Corps after his boxing career was over, but didn't make it through boot camp.
That's funny.
Yeah. He quit, and they let him out.
It's familiar, but it's just not coming.
His nickname was Big Daddy.
Big Daddy. Oh, Riddick Bowe. I didn't realize he was 43-1. I forgot that. I thought he was more like 32-1 or something like that.
43-1, 33 knockouts was his career record, and he never
only
fought
loss
Lennox Lewis.
Right,
Huh?
His only loss was Holyfield, right?
Yeah,
that was his only Holyfield.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, here's a guy who fought from 1988 to 2017. Long time. He's from Grand Rapids, Michigan. He had a career record of 77, 10, and 3 with 47 knockouts. He's considered one of the greatest defensive fighters of all time. He was famous for not training very hard. Okay, this guy beat Mike McCallum in 1997, and then he lost his next fight three months later to a guy named Drake Thadzey. That tells you how he trained. He lost back-to-back. He lost back-to-back fights to Roy Jones Jr. and Montel Griffin. He once held a gun to the head of Jackie Callan in the middle of a cocaine bid.
Oh, James Toney.
Yep, you got it, baby. Yep. and he was 35 years old when he beat Holyfield. That's unbelievable.
What a fight. What a fighter.
Yep. Okay, so this next guy, we got 3 more of these. This next guy was the first Mexican-born fighter in history to win world titles in 4 weight classes. He beat 15 world champions in a career that spanned from 1993 to 2012. He won his first world title at 21 when he knocked out Daniel Zaragoza in the 11th round. He won He fought in one of the greatest trilogies in history against another all-time Mexican great. He upset Manny Pacquiao in 2005.
Okay, so let's see. Is that Eric Morales?
You got it.
Or Mark?
The last hint was going to be, and he retired after back-to-back losses to Danny Garcia.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this next guy, retired with a record of 46-0, 32 knockouts. He was a southpaw.
Yeah, it's Joe Calzaghe.
You got it, man. Do you remember that one of his nicknames was the Italian Dragon?
Well, I was going to say he's Italian, so I'm going to get that one quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
I never knew that. I didn't remember that he was the Italian Dragon. Yeah. But man, he fought some studs too. Chris Eubank, Charles Brewer, Jeff Lacey, Sakio Bika, Mikkel Kessler, Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones. And undefeated. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
He beat
the
Hopkins
big
and Jones.
the big discussion is always has been for years is Joe Calzaghe against Andre Ward. Who would have won that fight?
Oh, man. Yeah, great one.
Yeah, that would have been a cagey.
I pick Ward.
Well, maybe. I mean, yeah, it could be. Maybe he was a little faster, but Calzaghe was very busy, if you remember. I mean, that's why he out-hustled, got knocked down by Jones and Hopkins, but he rallied and out-hustled them both and outworked them, and he won decisions. He actually beat Roy Jones easy. The Hopkins fight was a little closer, but yeah, he was a very busy fighter. He didn't hit all that hard, but he was constantly throwing punches.
All right, last one for you. This fighter was born in the Soviet Union, and he served in the Soviet Army, but he fought professionally in a different country.
Mm-hmm.
He was an undisputed and lineal world champion between 2001 and 2005, and he had a career record of 31-2 with 25 knockouts.
Is that Zua?
Kostya Tszyu.
Kostya Tszyu, yeah. That's it, yeah. Okay.
Man, you were too friggin' quick. I prepared 6 of these for you, and we've already gone through them. Man, Kostya Tszyu, you look at his record, he was a stud, too. Rafael Ruelas, Miguel Angel Gonzalez, Julio Cesar Chavez, he beat him. Shambe Mitchell, 3 times? 2 times, 3 times?
Yeah.
He made Zab Judah do that chicken dance in the ring, beat Jesse James Leha, Ben Tacky, and then his career ended. The only loss of his career, Ricky Hatton. What a stunner that was.
Yeah, and his son, Dennis, is fighting out of Australia because that's where he lives, Tim.
Yep.
And he's 17-0 with 13 knockouts.
Yep.
So
have you seen him fight?
I've seen tape of him fight. He's like his dad, but he's not. He's a little bit more of a boxer, but he looks just like him. I mean, he's like a mirror image of him. But he's got ability and he's got ambition. So we're lucky to have Anthony Cox in Australia, who covers him very closely and writes stories about him a lot. So
on MaxBoxing.com, yeah, exactly.
MaxBoxing. Yeah. So.
And you've got a story you're going to post today, right? Is that today?
If you're talking on Herman Montez, that one I'm going to post tomorrow, and that one is a great one because I love features, and I don't get a chance to write them anymore. That's how I started in this whole business, was writing features about guys like Armando Muniz and Carlos Palomino and those great LA fighters from the 70s and 80s. And Herman Montez was a fighter in the 80s, and he was a guy that I always wondered about because he retired when he was 26, Dennis. And that just shocked me, especially if his record was 4 wins and 33 losses. I would have understood why he retired. But you flip it. It was 33-4, and he knocked out Pepino Cuevas in one of the most exciting fights at the Olympic. And we're talking about some great fights they had there in 1985. So yeah, I always wondered what happened, and I got to talk to Herman, and he told me everything, and it was a total blast to write it. And I'm really hoping that the boxing fans will like it because it just was, a joy to write. It was kind of like writing Instant Warfare again, Dennis. I got to go back and watch some of the film and you know how much we love doing that. So, yeah, no, that's going to be tomorrow morning. That'll be first thing in the morning. I'll post that. But, yeah, that was I love writing about. I'm trying to do like these little features on California, Southern California fighters again because it is my first love.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to try and get him on the show too, right?
We are absolutely going to get him on the show, yeah, because he's got such a tremendous story of his life and boxing shenanigans. And, this is a man who trained at the Main Street Gym, and anybody that knows the Southern California mythical boxing lore knows about the Main Street Gym. And he fought at the Olympic 22 times.
Really?
And
oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and see, he's kind of forgotten, which is kind of sad, but because he retired so young. But he's got some stories that are just incredible. I don't think he told me even a little bit. He told me the few that I asked, but I'm sure there's a lot more. He was sparring with Ruben Olivares when he was 15. Cuevas was his idol. So this is like out of a movie. guy gets to fight his idol. So he's just incredible, and he's a very soft-spoken, nice, like most fighters. Good friends with Armando Muniz. They all go to the boxing dinners, and that's he was sitting at the table when I was talking to Armando, and I started talking to Herman, and I thought, why isn't that nobody ever writes about this man? What happened? So that's how the whole idea came, and I finally got him and talked to him, and I think the boxing fans are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, he's a talker, you said, huh?
He is a talker, yes, and he and his stuff is good. I mean, he gives some inside information about going on the road to fight, and his father trained him. And his brother was also a very good fighter, John Montez. And he lasted a little longer than Herman, but he retired young too. I think at like 30. But he was also a very popular Southern California fighter. I might have to do something on John at some point, but just one of those stories where people are forgotten or a boxer's forgotten, and it's good to remind people that this guy was around and kind of shake your head and go, well, what happened? Why didn't he get a title shot? So, you'll find out in my article.
Hey, in a minute or two, we're going to be talking to Keith Thurman, and we'll only have about 15 minutes with him because he's running crazy right now. But he's fighting Manny Pacquiao on July 20th at the MGM Grand. And I keep seeing all these predictions from guys who know what they're talking about, and it seems to be about 50-50, man. You see a lot of.
Yes.
I think most people are picking Thurman, but there's actually quite a few that think Pacquiao's got a good shot. How close is it to a 50-50 fight? You think this is?
It is. It's pretty close, but what happens is, and this is what I'm convinced happens when you're trying to look at these fights, is you think about the last fight that they had, or the two fights. And Thurman had his fight with Josecito Lopez, and we all saw it. We saw him look good for 3 or 4 rounds, and then he started to run out of gas. And Josecito, who nobody should ever underestimate or underrate, was primed. If you remember, Robert Garcia told us during that interview, it was nice hearing him, he said that Josecito, he was very convinced that Josecito could beat Keith Thurman, and he almost did, because Keith got tired, and he got buzzed a couple of times, and so that's in your brain, It's like Keith has gone down a notch because he was off all that time. He talks about that in this interview everybody's going to hear, and we wondered if he'd lost his edge. He really wanted to fight anymore. And then Pacquiao comes back, and he knocks out Lucas Matisse for his first knockout in like 10 years or something like that. And then he handles Broner with ease. So you got that in your mind. And Pacquiao looks like Pacquiao, a little slower, but, he's 40 years old, but he's still quicker than most guys. And our friend Stan the Man Martin went and saw him and said, man, he's looking real good, looking real sharp. So you got all that information in your head, Dennis, but I still give Thurman the edge. I really think it's going to be a hell of a fight, though. I do. I think it's going to be very close. Thurman says something in this interview that everybody's going to hear that kind of surprised me. I'm not going to spoil it. People to listen about his strategy, a little of the strategy going into the fight. But I think it's really an intriguing one. I do think it's a close 50-50 fight, maybe a little bit more for Keith Thurman. But he might have to out-hustle Manny Pacquiao, and that isn't really his game. As he explains again, that isn't his thing in the interview. But, yeah, that one has really got me intrigued. I think it's got all the cliches, the older guy against the young guy. The one guy might be losing his edge. The older guy's trying to come back. He wants one more shot at the glory. It's got all that stuff. So it is one that I'm really, really looking forward to. And surprisingly, a lot of people are taking Pacquiao. That's surprising me a little bit. So, and it's going to be like that. And the odds makers have made Thurman a slight favorite. See, so they're thinking along the same line. So, yeah, it should be. And see, the thing is about Keith Thurman, again, as we're going to hear, you can tell that he is deadly serious. He knows this is it for him in a sense. I mean, he can't lose this fight. If he wants to fight all the big names, he wants to eventually fight Crawford, if he wants to fight Errol Spence, or if he wants to fight Sean Porter in a rematch, I don't know what's going to happen because Porter's probably going to fight Errol Spence. But if he wants all those names, he's got to beat Manny Pacquiao. So that's the other thing that people should think about is we're not going to see the Thurman, I don't believe, that we saw against Josecito Lopez. We're going to see a much improved, sharper, more focused, motivated. I mean, not saying he wasn't, but he's more engaged. And you can even tell during our interview that he's primed, and he has to be. You know, the thing about being a boxer, I mean, your fight is so important to your career and your life. So yeah, it's got everything going for it as far as I'm concerned.
And Thurman's going to be making, I'm sure I haven't seen the purses yet, but the most money he's ever made in a fight, and that's you know, he's going to be on pay-per-view and big audience and stuff. But man, other than those things, this is a no-win fight for him. I mean, if he beats the crap out of Pacquiao, he beats up a 40-year-old. If he loses, he lost to a 40-year-old. And, you know, what's that going to do to his career? That's devastating if he loses this fight. So, yeah, I don't see an upside to this other than he's going to get real rich on it.
That's pretty much it. And you allude to that in our interview, and he answers it in his own way. And it's a very interesting answer that he gives. I think I read that Pacquiao's getting $20 million for this fight. So you got to figure that Keith is getting 10 or 15 because Pacquiao's probably still considered more the A side because of his legendary career. Sure. So you figure $10 to $15 million. That's good. But he, as he said, he wanted to fight Pacquiao. He wanted this fight. So it is, in a sense, I think it is very driven by money. I do. And he's rolling the dice because if he gets stopped or beat, that would be devastating for his career. So he has to win this fight. But that's why I think he's most likely going to be at the top of his game because this is just so important to him for the future. And if he's not, then the comments that he slipped a little bit is going to be true. And you know what I keep thinking is when Andre Ward came back after that long that long break, that long layoff due to all the problems he was having with his manager, he didn't look the same. It's true. He didn't. He had lost something. I mean, obviously we know what happened, and I still don't think that he beat Kovalev in the first fight. I still think Kovalev edged him in that fight, and Andre going to get mad at me about that, but that's okay. Second fight, fine. Low blows, right. But he wasn't the same guy if you go back and look at his fight against Kessler or somebody like that. He lost, you know, that they say you lose a step. Yeah, I don't want to say that he's lost a step, but he lost something. And that's what I was thinking when I was watching Keith Thurman, because he was getting hit more. Mm-hmm. Now, perhaps that was rust. Perhaps that was a highly motivated Josecito Lopez and maybe not as motivated Thurman. Or, like I said, maybe he's just lost a little bit. If he's lost a little bit, then it even really makes the fight a 50-50 fight. Perhaps Pacquiao wins then. So that's what I mean. There's all these things going on with fighters. Boxers, they can say, I've been gone for 2 years, not going to hurt me. I've been in the gym. You hear that all the time. It does hurt. You lose a little edge. And Keith talks about that again, and I think he's very realistic about it.
All right. Well, we're going to hear from Keith Thurman right after this quick break. Thanks, John. We'll talk to you again next week, man.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Dennis Taylor, host of the Ringside Boxing Show, where since 2008 we have been continuously sponsored by Garcia Boxing, the first family of the Sweet Science on California's beautiful Central Coast. Trainers Max and Sam Garcia and ring strategist Dean Familton are regarded among the most knowledgeable in the game. And Kathy Garcia, who manages all Garcia boxing fighters, is renowned for her integrity and career guidance, having taken 2 boxers to #1 world rankings. Together they comprise one of the most respected teams in the sport. Learn more by calling 831-261-3214 or send them an email at garciaboxing25@aol.com.
This is tremendous, Don, just tremendous. The atmosphere heavy, uncertain, overtones of ugliness. A reminder in a way of how it was in March of 1964 at Miami Beach. when Clay met Liston for the first time and nobody was certain how it would turn out. The crowd is tense. They've been here since 10 this morning.
Welcome back to the Ringside Boxing Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm Dennis Taylor with John J. Raspanti, and we're fortunate today to get a few minutes with undefeated welterweight Keith one-time Thurman, who currently is preparing to fight Manny Pacquiao at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Keith, welcome back. Thanks for granting us a quick interview today on the Ringside Boxing Show. How you been?
I've been good, just training hard in St. Pete, Florida with the team, and I'm looking forward to this fight. It's going to be a tremendous fight, July 20th.
Yeah. How's camp going, man?
Oh, it's going great. Been losing weight. We got a strict diet and a strict training regimen. Today is actually one of my lighter days, which I'm definitely looking forward to. And the next 2 days we're going to be ramped back up into the heavy stuff. So it's going well.
Good. Keith, you fought an impressive list of opponents in recent years, including Robert the Ghost Guerrero and Sean Porter and Danny Garcia. But Pacquiao is your first living legend, a guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famer. Does this fight feel any different from the others for exactly that reason?
It does, he's Manny Pacquiao, When I first saw him in New York and we shared the stage together, his demeanor, he's just been here, over just dozens and dozens of times. He's won fights, he's lost fights, he's had controversial decisions, he's been knocked out. There's just nothing that can be done to this man that he hasn't lived through already, At the end of the day, he is a living legend. He's the pride of the Philippines, and he's just an amazing success story, for many to admire, myself included. And I just really look forward to sharing the ring with him and showing him my skills and my talent and how it's different from all the other opponents that he's been in the ring with prior.
I think we're all guessing that this has got to be the biggest payday of your career, and you'll add an all-time great to your legacy. The other side is that Pacquiao comes into the fight with a built-in excuse if you beat him up or knock him out. He's 40, and he's had 70 fights. This is a guy who knocked out Lucas Matisse and dominated Adrian Broner in his last two fights. He hasn't exactly looked washed up, but you're probably braced in advance for the possibility that you're not going to get the respect that you deserve if you make him look bad in the ring. Am I off base on that? Or
that doesn't matter. That's bullshit. It's whatever you say. If you want to create the title like that, as soon as the fight's over, if that's how they want to, skewer it, that's how they skewer it. That's what media and presses and people do. If I own a magazine, I create the headline of the magazine. If I want to say Keith Thurman defeats a legend in great fashion, or I can say Keith Thurman beat up a 40-year-old man and, looks forward to fighting the rest of the young people in the division. Just is what it is. Like you said, he's coming off of a win streak once again. He's been looking great. Anybody who follows his Instagram, they say his hand speed is tremendous,
Yep.
They say he doesn't look like he skipped a beat. And after his fight with Adrian Broner, I watched it, and it inspired me. It inspired me because a week later, I was fighting Jose Cito Lopez after a 2-year comeback, and for the first time, I was competing at 30 years old. I've never been a 30-year-old athlete, and I've never had to had such a long layoff in the sport. So to me, I almost felt 40 for those reasons, And so to see him at 40 years old beat Adrian Broner, which I thought was going to be a little bit more of a challenge than it was, it was inspiring for me. I even got up and at the end of the fight, I ran 3 miles and late at night just because my fight was right around the corner. And also on that day, when he said after the post-fight interview, he says, "I feel great, I'm going to fight again," that's when I said, let's go in, let's win, and let's go get Manny Pacquiao this year. You know, I just really believe that we can make this fight happen. I think it's a great fight for the fight fans and for myself. So, you know, here it is.
Really, really. Yeah, Keith Pacquiao is one of the most popular fighters of this or any other era. He's fighting in Vegas, which is a friendly turf for him. He's likely going to have the crowd on his side. Do you feel like you have to knock him out to win this fight?
No, I don't think I need to knock him out to win the fight. I think depending on how the fight goes, depending on how many combinations he gets off, it's all about, you know, hit and don't get hit. You know, if I'm landing right hands, left hooks, uppercuts in a similar fashion like I did to Sean Porter, you know, Sean Porter outworked me in the fight, but he didn't defeat me, you know. But if the fight is that close against a Manny Pacquiao, you know, can the fight be a draw? Yes. Can I lose? Who knows? You know, so I don't want to have a close fight against Manny Pacquiao. That's for sure. I don't really want to leave it up to the judges. I would prefer KO victory, TKO victory. But at the end of the day, we're going to, you know, set ourselves apart and do our best to clearly win these rounds so that we can be victorious.
Yeah. You said in the past interviews that Manny can be kind of predictable in the ring. Curious, what do you see? You said you watched the Broner fight, and then you went and ran, which was cool. Did you see things there that you thought, okay, I kind of see what's coming before it does it?
Well, more or less, he seems to be more patient nowadays, right? He's a little bit more patient. He takes his time. He likes to get. He didn't open up on Adrian Broner until Adrian Broner was on the ropes. I don't think Manny Pacquiao is the best in the center of the ring. I don't think that's his dominant position in the ring. I think having you on the ropes or having you in the corner is where he truly shines. That's where he can get his mitt work off. He can get his 5-punch up to his 8-punch combinational flurries. You know, and, you know, he never knocked down Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner had his hands up. He was unable to do anything quite devastating to Jeff Horn, who was the bigger man in the ring, you know, a true welterweight. And once again, Jeff Horn just walked him down with his hands up. Jeff Horn actually roughed Pacquiao up quite a bit. You know, I saw the fight as a draw. I never thought Manny Pacquiao won that fight. And yeah, you know, I'm the bigger guy. I'm going to have my hands up, and I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to see, you know, how much of the old Pacquiao is there. You know, the slow pace that he had against Broner, he had a lot of energy in the later rounds. We always know that Manny Pacquiao comes in shape, but what happens if the fight is pressed from the beginning? You know, at 40 years old, will that show a wrinkle in his step? You know, we don't know. It's my job to put him in that situation and, you know, make the fight exciting and test him and test myself at the same time.
Yeah. Pacquiao stopped Lucas Matisse, actually knocked him out. It was his first knockout in like 9 years, I believe. How much respect do you have for his punching power going into the July 20th fight?
You definitely have to respect it. You know, we know Manny Pacquiao packs a punch. But at the end of the day, Lucas Matisse doesn't have a big size advantage. You know,
right?
I believe the key to victory, which a lot of boxers feel this way, is from the outside. You know, especially when you have a reach advantage. Earlier this year, we saw Errol Spence versus Mikey Garcia, and Errol Spence gave him the fundamentals of distance. You know, you said Mikey Garcia said, "Oh, Errol makes mistakes. I see flaws in his fight style," and Errol said, "Really? I could step back. I can jab you all day. I can land my straight left, and looks like you can't get on the inside. What happened to me looking like Swiss cheese? You know, where's all those holes at?" Because obviously he couldn't back up his words with his fist, you know. But Errol used a very simple fundamental aspect, which was distance, you know. And I would have liked to see a little bit more of a fight out of the two, but sometimes it's like that. You know, you're talking a lot of trash and you're saying you can do this and do that. Let's get in the ring and let's see what you can do. Oh, wait, you can't do anything. That's what I thought. Thank you. Hand me my paycheck. Let's move on to the next one. You know, so I like to try to understand why fighters fight the way that they fight from time to time, you know, because I do believe Errol could have done more damage, but I think it was unnecessary because he was simply showing Mikey Garcia that your beliefs were false beliefs and you really can't, you can barely touch me in this boxing ring. You know, Manny Pacquiao, he's willing to take more chances, more risks. He's got faster footwork, and he can close the gap quite easily with his hops and his jump ins. At the same time, though, I'm a master of angles, and you know, if I have to rely on that, I will. But you know, I have a plan on starting the fight and really testing him and testing myself, and just trying to make a good, exciting fight for the fans, and trying to see if I can make him make a mistake early.
Last one for you, Keith, because I know you've probably got other interviews scheduled today. This is still only your second fight since 2017. You got that majority decision over Josecito in January. Did you feel some ring rust that night, and do you feel like you're now back to where you were a couple years ago before you got hurt?
Well, definitely I felt ring rust on that night. There were times where there were certain combinations I wanted to throw, and they just weren't really coming out. I was a little too hesitant to do what was on my mind. But, you know, we take the momentum from that training camp, we get into this training camp. This training camp is already a far better training camp in preparation for this fight. I believe that when you watch a fighter compete, you're watching the end results of their preparation for that match. You're not just watching their overall skills and their talent, but you're watching how they prepared for this fight plus their skills and their talent. Because if you take a skillful fighter who didn't prepare, you know, it normally shows in the ring, especially if you're in with a good opponent and you accidentally underestimated them. You know, so we're not underestimating Manny Pacquiao. It doesn't matter if he's 40 years old. I'm treating him like he's the greatest he ever was. And for me, I just want to be the best that I can be. And it's hard, you know, not fighting since 17. It's hard to gauge myself. And I'm trying not to be too hard on myself. At the end of the day, I just want to bring the best out of myself. And I picked a good fight to brush the dust off, and this is a great fight to get back to being great again. This is a great fight to get back on the high level and bring out the greatness in me. If I succeed, you'll be able to tell from my performance. And if I fail, then obviously they're going to say Keith Thurman isn't what he once was. But I'm truly looking forward to this fight, and I just want to make a statement in the sport of boxing. I just want to put on a great performance and showcase my skills and my talent once again to the highest of my ability.
Right. Hey, we always get straight talk from Keith Thurman. He will fight Manny Pacquiao July 20th at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, and you will see it on Fox pay-per-view. Keith, thank you so much, man. Know you're busy. Glad you were able to join us today on the Ringside Boxing Show. Best of luck to you.
Best of luck, Keith.
Thank you very much. Take care, guys.
Thank you, Keith. Take care. Best of luck.
Undefeated, Keith One-Time Thurman on the Ringside Boxing Show. Hey, Ringside Nation, do you like this podcast? Post us on your social media platform and help the Ringside Boxing Show grow. Also, if you haven't yet found the best boxing news website on the Internet, you got something to do right this minute. We update ringsideboxingshow.com 365 days a year with the biggest headlines and the hottest news every single day. This should be your first stop every morning, and it might be the only boxing site you need to visit all day. Check it out, and you will be amazed, guaranteed. ringsideboxingshow.com. We want to thank our expert analysts, Travis Hartman, Rizwan Zahid, and John J. Raspanti for their weekly contributions to this show, as well as our outstanding British correspondent, Paul McLaughlin, and another huge thanks to today's featured guest, Keith One-Time Thurman, who will be fighting a first-ballot Hall of Famer, Manny Pacquiao, on July 20th in Las Vegas. And, of course, thanks to you, Ringside Nation, for being a part of our worldwide audience again today. Keep your chin tucked, and we'll talk to you again next week on the Ringside Boxing Show.
Well, it's a great day for me to whoop somebody's ass. It's a bad day, so you better get off of my back. You might get cold cocked if you cross my path. 'Cause it's a great